Hello viewers, welcome to the YouTube channel and I'm your host Sushil Shalot. I have been releasing and publishing a lot of videos of your interest and this is the next one in the series. In this video we are going to learn and know more about a function called as payment or PMT in Excel. I already released a video on the same topic or the same function with a different topic. The topic there I covered was the installments of the loan repayment, how those can be calculated. So let's do something different in this video. In this video, we'll use the function PMT to find out the installment for target savings. Savings is matter of our liking, it is close to our heart and much more of our requirement. Each one of us have got some or the other aims and targets to achieve in our lifetime and those can be achieved only through savings. So let's get on to the Excel workbook and learn how do we manage our savings. So let us revise the PMT function before we move on. And PMT function calculates the installments based on the fixed periodic time. That is, the frequency can be monthly, quarterly, yearly, or maybe weekly also. And then it is with a constant interest rate that will be earned over the installments or the periodic savings that shall be done by the individual. So what are the contents or what are the requirements of this PMT function? First thing is rate. So let's get on to all these requirements one by one. So basically the payment or the PMT function is nothing else but the frequency dependent annual installment calculation. Rate is the constant interest rate at which the interest is earned on the savings. So it can be expressed in terms of percentage or in terms of fraction. The next thing what is required here is the N per, that is number of payment installments or number of the installments in which the savings can be done. So this is nothing else but the frequency dependent based on the payment frequency. So it can be again, as I said, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. PV is the present value. So that is the principal value. Now we'll begin our savings right from zero. So in our case, the PV or the present value shall be zero. The currency can vary. The next thing is the future value. The future value is a target value for which the savings are to be targeted. So maybe someone has got a requirement of say 500,000 or someone may be having of 50, 100,000. So this requirement varies from person to person and Excel takes care of all such requirements. Last but not the least, there is something called as type. So there are two types of installments. So the installment or the payment or the savings can be done either at the end of the period or it can be done at the start or beginning of the period. So end of the period is represented by 0, whereas the start or beginning of the period is represented by 1. So well, either 0 or 1 can be keyed in as a type. But well, if nothing is keyed, then Excel by default considers it as 0. With this brief about the PMT function, now let's get on to how the calculations of these savings can be done by every individual, and let's get on to the next worksheet. So here in this worksheet, we have the details of the interest. The rate is 11%. The period, that is N per, I have considered say 20 years. 20 years is quite a time for a person to do his savings and it is essential to do a long-term planning. Well, the next thing is the initial amount, and as I said, the initial amount shall be 0. So we start from 0, and the last thing or the matter of our interest is the amount what we require after the period of n number of years or n number of weeks or whatever it is. And last thing, as I explained, the type. So type can be 0, that is the installment or the amount can be saved at the end of that period, and when it is 1, certainly it has to be at the beginning of the period. So let us start with the PMT function and with the example of annual saving. So here I am typing PMT. The first thing is the rate, so I can put in here as 11%. I'll put it as 11% here. One can choose to put it 11% or say 0.11, or even one can choose to select the cell C2. Well, let me put it as 11% here. or as a matter of ease, to choose the cell is much easier, so we can toggle with the percentage and find out how we can manage the installment as per the requirement. The next thing is the NPER, that is the number of years for which this installment can be deposited. The next thing is the initial amount, that is 0, and 0 is represented as a dash or hyphen in uh, accounting cell. The next thing what is required is the balance amount or the amount target what we need to or the person needs to save. And last but not the least, as I said, is the type. So it is the end of the period, so we'll consider is at cell C6, that is having value 0. With all these inputs given, when I enter it, I get a value of say 12,460.51 dollars. Now, why this value is in brackets? The reason behind this is the amount will be paid from the pocket of the person, and hence it will be a negative or minus. So every month that person, or rather every year that person will have to deposit 12,460.51 dollars. Fine. The same thing if we apply here or we pull up the formula over here for the period of initial payment. So if it is paid at the beginning of the annual or the year, the amount turns out to be $11,255.68. Now, if you see, this by default has turned out to be two decimal places. If I change the if I change the content as general, then it turns out to be multiple decimal places. Well, let's continue with the currency, and we are interested in having up to two decimal places. Now, as you see, this value is seen as negative. As I already explained, this will be paid from the pocket of the person who is doing the savings. So if at all he chooses to opt for a percentage value of higher percentage, so it will be 12%, and subsequently the value of the installment reduces, and target remains the balance amount as 800,000. So if someone thinks about some other value, say 500,000, there it is, the value changes drastically. So in this way, one can opt to use the Excel to make the corresponding changes, and accordingly the values will be returned. So here, fine. So this is how one can make the calculations. I have demonstrated you the calculations for the annual installments. Now let us get on to the monthly installment. So how to do the monthly installments? So monthly installments means there will be 12 equal installments in a given year. The percentage or the rate of the interest is always in PCPA. So PCPA, that is nothing else but percent per annum. This is unit of time. The next thing is in currency. Same thing, currency unit, and this is just numerical. So I also written the units of all these values so that it becomes easy for you to understand why am I either multiplying or dividing by some value. So now since this is percent per annum, I will have to divide it by 12 to find out the monthly value equivalent to this interest. The next thing is the N per again is 20 years, but we need it into months, so I'll multiply it by 12 so that I get equivalent number of months for this calculation. The PV value again here is 0, and the FV value, that is the future value, is what is our target to do the saving. And last thing is the type. So this is for the end of the period payment, and there it is. I'll say enter. So the value turns out to be 505.43. If I use the same thing over here and I pull the formula here, it turns out to be 500.43. Now here if I see, it takes up the cells as in the column D, wherein the last thing that is taken, that is D6, is numerical 1. That means at the beginning of the period, This is what the installment or the savings the person will have to do accordingly. Well, let us go down to the quarterly ones. Now it's easy and you can easily make out what it is that I am putting in here and why am I putting it there. So a year has got 4 quarters. So there it is. I'm dividing the value by 4, the interest value by 4. The N per value will have a multiplication factor of 4. The next thing is the PV value, that is 0. The next thing is the FV value, that is the balance amount, that is in cell C5, that is 500,000 pounds, or rather it is dollars here. So irrespective of what currency we choose, there it is, the answer will remain the same. Well, there it is. So the quarterly value for the end of the period, that means at the end of the quarter this person will have to save $1,555.87. There, if I pull it into the next cell, there it is, it gives a value of $1,510.56 that will be deposited at the initial day or initiation of the quarter. The next thing what we're going to calculate here is for weekly. So as I already said, a year has got 52 weeks and therefore this interest value will be divided by 52. The number of years will be multiplied by 52 so that we get the values in number of weeks. The p value is 0 and the target value remains 500,000, and we are going to choose the payment at the end of the week. So at the end of the week, the person will have to pay $115.47 every week, so that at the end of the 20th year, he will have the saving of $500,000. Friends, with these all values possibly toggled here and there, we can find out what is the installment value accordingly. So if I change the number of tenure or the periodicity to 10 years, this is what I will get, or the person will get as a target to save every period. So if it is annual, monthly, quarterly, or weekly, whatever it is. So friends, this is how one can go ahead and create an Excel file of his own. After knowing this function, after seeing this video, I am damn sure that you must have learned it very well. I have followed it very well. Now it is matter of time that how you apply this learning into your applications. So I wish you best to do the thing as per your requirement. Decide your target value, the balance amount what you require after what period, and what is the best interest rate that you can invest in. And you can decide if you wish to pay the savings at the beginning of the tenure or at the end of the installment frequency. Well, I hope you must have liked all these learnings. Enjoy learning. Share it with your friends who need this. Certainly, everyone needs it. So you can share it with whoever you feel like. And no doubt, I'll again recommend you to subscribe this channel if you have not done it till date. Subscribing this channel will open a door for you to watch a lot of videos at the channel which are of use and which are quite worthy. Well friends, as ever, I promise you to come again with you. I'll meet you again with a new video soon. Till then, take care, happy learning, and choose. Bye bye.